Silence, a sonnet by Edgar Allan Poe. There are some qualities, some incorporate things that have a double life, which thus is made, a type of that twin entity which springs from matter and light, evinced in solid and shade. There is a twofold silence, sea and shore, body and soul. One dwells in lonely places, newly with grass o'ergrown, some solemn graces, some human memories and tearful lore. Render him terrorless, his name's no more. He is the corporate silence, dread him not. No power hath he of evil in himself, but should some urgent fate, untimely lot, bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf, that haunteth the lone regions where hath trod no foot of man, command thyself to God. Welcome to Telltale Books. You just heard a reading of Edgar Allan Poe's Silence, a sonnet, and we are now going to talk about it. This poem was originally published in January of 1840 in the Saturday Courier.
A great Saturday morning read.
And it's I don't know if this is one of his better known poems or not. I mean, obviously everybody knows The Raven.
Yeah, honestly, I have never heard of this one.
Okay.
Personally, and I'm a big Poe fan. It's not in any of the collected works that I had when I was young. It is in the Edgar Allan Poe that I've been reading a lot of our Poe stuff from.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not something I've encountered until you said we were going to read this.
Well, it is in my huge
Look at that
Sun Top edition that I got this year, and it's in the we have on our Etsy store a number of Edgar Allan Poe books, the complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe that I my old modern library edition from the early 1980s. I have that for sale in our Etsy store. Free plug. But that has this poem in it, as well as almost everything else. If you look online, there's a website with an Edgar Allan Poe Society, and they've got everything in there with all the different versions and just about every
really
last
cool.
detail you want to know about anything Edgar Allan Poe is on this website. And the fact is, there are some of his works, mainly early poems, that are not included in most complete tales and poems collections.
Interesting.
I've only been able to find them by going to this Edgar Allan Poe website. And you can read them there. And they're not earth-shatteringly great, but they're nice.
Yeah, and I mean, it's Poe.
But it also
Everybody has a start.
But when you pick up a book that says Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe, they're wrong.
It's lies.
They're
You've
lying
been
to
deceived.
you. They are pulling one over on you because it's probably stuff that's just recently been discovered in somebody's attic or something.
I'm sure.
You know?
Yeah, in Poe's attic, hiding under the floorboards with a weird skeleton.
Yeah, and the other plug I want to do I have it? Yes, I do have it where I can grab it. Is our YouTube channel here is coming up on 500 subscribers.
Woo!
And
Thank you.
as incentive for people who haven't actually hit that subscribe button, to get us to 500, when we reach 500, we are going to, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to handle it, but we are going to do a giveaway. Emily found this complete stories and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. It's a Doubleday book that has a copyright of
way back in the day. I have no idea.
copyright of 1966, but this doesn't feel like it was from 1966. I suppose it could be that old, but it feels newer than that. Just the pages.
Yeah, the pages
stuff
are not yellowed, so maybe they did acid free.
Well, yeah, if they did
or
acid
something.
free, then it still would be fine for 66. But otherwise, it does feel newer than little new, so it might be a later printing, like
Might be.
1970s or early 1980s. But anyway, she got it without a dust jacket. I am taking her illustrations that she did for the Black Cat and designing a dust jacket, and going to put, so it's going to be a one-of-a-kind custom dust jacket. Nobody else on the planet is going to have this book. It will be given away through some kind of drawing to one of you if you enter the drawing, and the winner will be shipped for free, United States only. I don't want to lose my house to international shipping.
Goodness.
But I will pay for the shipping to you in the mainland United States, and you will receive this book with a custom dust cover jacket on it. Okay.
So yeah.
So
Details
watch for that, and
yeah.
subscribe to it. Get your friends to subscribe to us to push us up to that 500, because I won't do the drawing until then. And then I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll call for people to enter the drawing at that time from among our subscribers, because then, I mean, I'm sure some people aren't going to want that book, and so they won't want to just automatically be entered if I just put all of our subscribers into a hat.
Yeah.
So, you know, there'll be probably a Facebook post in the Telltale discussion group where you can put your name in for the drawing. And well, you can just put your name in. I'll contact you through there and get full address details and stuff.
So follow us here and on our Facebook page, and we'll do our best to make sure we give you details as soon as we can.
Yes, because our Facebook page and our Instagram page, we do put a lot of content that we don't put in these videos. There's a lot of interesting things going in there, and we do also have a Patreon where there's more content that you don't see in these videos or on Facebook or on Instagram. You only get it through there. So if you follow us in those places, you'll get everything that we do. And we do put a lot of interesting literature-related content in all those places.
And at the funny meme or two when we see them. You never know.
Yes. So you remember that sonnet that I just read, Silence. What do you think it's about?
Bro, I think it's about ego death.
Ego death?
Yes, when people experience a sense of their ego dying and they start realizing that everything is more interconnected. When you start having like a metamorphosis of character change. Or it could be literal death. Like, there is a lot of death reference. Or things that could be potentially that. But I think it's more of a metaphoric death than it is a literal one.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of get that from matter and light, evidenced in solid and shade. And I'm thinking of shade as in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Or ghost almost.
Well,
but
yeah, and he says right after that, body and soul.
Body and soul. So I think it's a more holistic change than just dying. I think it's probably a character change or experiencing the loss or grief of a person you once were.
Mm-hmm. But there's the line here where it says, one dwells in lonely places, newly with grass o'ergrown, some solemn graces. Well, but that could be a graveyard. Yeah,
that could be a graveyard. But it also could mean a former self. It could mean...
Well, it render him terrorless. Yeah. His name's no more.
Mm-hmm. But that
he
could
is
also
the corporate silence. Dread him not. Has no power of evil.
Could be a Grim Reaper then too.
It could be.
Yeah.
Bring thee to meet his shadow, nameless elf that haunteth the lone regions where hath trod no foot of man. Commend thyself to God. So
but that
yeah,
could be
I
your
think this
internal
is
self as well. You can't tread on your.
But I do think this is, knowing Edgar Allan Poe, he was obsessed with death.
Yeah.
With death.
Well, most
I think it
Victorians
is
were
all
at the
about
time.
death.
Yeah, it is probably all about death. But I like to think in too because it isn't so upfront and apparent. there's a lot of metaphor that could be taken, a lot of symbolism. Because when it says, not fit of man, commend thyself to God. Because, like, and I think, too, probably the biases of coming from a Christian home, it is kind of a loss of self. Like, there is a death to self, sort of, that can happen, or an ego death that can happen in some manner. Okay. So that's kind of it's probably my own perceptions bending it a little bit. Or maybe I'm just being too hopeful, and I should just be like, it's Poe, it's death. We're talking about death here.
Well, but that is a whole discussion that we should have a longer video about sometime, is that there is what Poe was thinking when he wrote this, but then there's what everybody's going to take from it, which is going to be different depending on who reads it, depending on their past experiences.
There's a lot left open to interpretation.
So, in encountering a work of art, is it correct to see it from your biases, or do you have to do the work to try and figure out what the heck Edgar Allan Poe was thinking on the day that he wrote it?
Yes, and I'm one of
those... And we can't ask him because he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. So we actually encountered this question, I think, in my art history class. And the question was literally, do we as a viewer have a right to make our own interpretations of what we're perceiving from an artist?
Exactly.
And the answer is, it depends. Was that the intention of the artist or not? Because I am a person who, when I create poetry and art, sometimes I purposefully leave it open-ended in order to be able to have people take from it what they want and be able to look at it through the lens of self and have all those biases and have all those experiences in their past that make them who they are. And then there are some that are literally about a situation that happened to me, and that is my story.
Yeah.
And that's not left open to interpretation. People will still do it because it's normal and human. But my intention is to tell the story through my lens.
But there are works where the author or artist had something specific they wanted to convey to people. A really good example is probably C.S. Lewis and his Narnia stories. If you read that whole series,
Jesus.
if you read that whole series and leave it thinking it's about Buddhism, you miss something.
I don't know, but there's a lot of interesting correlations between Buddhism and Christianity, but that's not
but I think
for this
C.S.
video.
Lewis would probably go off on you and slap you in the side of the face.
He absolutely would.
So there's that where the artist does have something specific they're trying to convey, not all the time, but sometimes, and you need to get that. But on the other hand, in a situation like this, I mean, we know Edgar Allan Poe was kind of obsessed with death.
He was macabre in and of
but
himself.
Does that necessarily mean everything he wrote was about death? And he's not here to ask. We can't write him. He doesn't have an email address.
It is for sure about transition from one phase to a next, and that we can at least inference in everything. And
it's definitely about a state that is not active.
Yes. It's about a being that once was and is not no more, whether it's a state of being or a literal being.
I mean, even if you interpret it to be about depression,
you could.
That's still kind of the same thing, just not a full physical death, just a momentary death.
Yeah, where you feel silence. Like you just can't anymore. Yes, going into depressive episodes. So it is a transitional. You can take some different things from this, and there's no way to confirm whether or not Poe would sit there and go, "Oh man, these people are idiots." Yeah, he didn't write an essay explaining himself on this one.
No,
which is interesting. He really could have.
And I think poetry, more than any other art form, is open to personal interpretation. If they wanted something very specific for you to get out of it, they would write it in plain language, not in all this verse. Which
and sometimes I wonder too if, because I as a poet have also done this, where the phrasing sounds cool, even though I have no idea exactly what it could mean. Like, again, I might have 8 or 9 different interpretations of what that could mean and what it could mean to a person taking away from it. And even as the writer myself, like, sometimes you craft something for the sake of cool.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder how many, even back in this time when we think, oh gosh, these guys are the masters, how many times they were like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'll leave it there. That'll fuck with them. Like, you wonder though? Like, sometimes I wonder.
They might.
Yeah. And Poe seems like he would be the type, now that we've read some of his comedies. He's got a little sass to him.
That plus, a lot of times an artist is not being really explicit, but rather is being more surrealistic, more dreamlike, calling up imagery or thoughts or ideas and combining things that don't really go together just because it pops into their head and it seems to fit. But they don't necessarily know why that popped into their imagination and why they want to put it there.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think it's definitely. I think some things just come to mind and it's like, that could mean a lot of stuff and it sounds cool and here's how I'll phrase it and now it's part of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something before that there's multiple versions of this.
Yeah, but they're just slight variations in the wording, not any significantly different meaning from it.
Okay, interesting.
Just playing around with the words a little bit, and they, if I forget the exact URL of it, there's a website that's all Edgar Allan Poe. It's got everything, his entire bibliography. All of his poems are in there, and every version of all those poems are in there.
Wow.
And you can look it up and you can see how, different versions of this poem had slightly different names, slightly different wording. But quickly looking them over, I couldn't see any significant differences that would have any change in meaning to make any of those other versions any different from this.
And to be fair, too, the more I think about it, the more I've had a lot of time to dwell on this. Because I've read it now several times before this. I read it the first time you sent it to me. And then I read it twice this morning. And a couple times even in between then. And I've had a lot of time to dwell on it. And maybe I overthought it, too. Maybe it is just about death. And it's nothing more.
If you see something more in there, fine.
Yeah. What harm does it do to have an opinion?
Edgar Allan Poe's going to come back from the grave and tell you no.
He's going to haunt me and bitch slap me with a... I don't know.
Exactly.
A dead raven. Dumb bitch. But yeah, it's...
You'll sick your black cat on it.
Yeah. Yes. Have an army of cats. The cats full of them. Anyway. But yeah. I really don't have more that I can say about it, other than continuing the conversation about going into this with personal bias. And... I mean, everybody does it.
You're kind of locked into it.
Yeah, there's nothing you can really do a lot.
You can't see the world through any other eyes.
Yeah, there's no such thing as objectivity.
You can try
really.
to understand how somebody else is seeing things, but you really have only your experience to draw upon. And so you're going to pull your biases into how you experience and interpret any work of art. And that's just part of it. And if the artist doesn't like that, they're just going to have to deal with it. The artist creates it and does what they think they want to do with it, says what they think they want to say with it, but once you put it out in the world, like I say, the artist can't follow you around and tell you what they were thinking.
Who it was, but there was an author who did a lecture. And he got booed out and ended up walking off the stage after his lecture because nobody agreed with him that that's what he was trying to say in his book. He's like, I literally fucking wrote it. Like, and I wish I could remember who that was. But yeah, it was a really prolific writer, and like, he was talking about his book and everybody was telling him this is what it's about. And he's like, it's not though. And he just got so frustrated and everybody got so mad that he just ended up walking out of the lecture and not coming back there ever.
Yeah.
Like,
I can see that. I mean, if the guy that wrote it is standing there
telling you no, you need to believe him.
You kind of have to listen to that.
Yeah.
You could...
Well, they didn't.
you could say that but this line could have these other interpretations. But if the writer says, "Well, but that's not what I was thinking," then
Yeah.
that's not what the writer was thinking.
Yeah, that's not what I meant there.
But like I say, that writer can't
Interesting that you think that, but
be
no.
in everybody's house telling them that.
Yeah.
So there's going to be all those other interpretations occurring. You can't stop it.
Yes, and I think it's interesting too that it must have been taught I think it was at a university or something. It must have been taught by the professor in that manner that everybody just kind of agreed with it.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking, oh yeah, that sounds reasonable. That's what I'm going to attach to. And it just tells you a lot about mob mentality.
Yes.
So, interesting. But yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, so a very good little poem by Edgar Allan Poe.
One of the shortest, I think. I don't think he wrote very many short ones.
He did write quite a few that are that short.
Okay. I feel like I only know the longer stuff.
The Raven is really the longest he did. I mean, The Conqueror Worm is only like 1 page.
Mm-hmm.
Dreamland is a little longer. Eulalie, a Song is just slightly longer than Silence.
Mm-hmm.
You can see here's another sonnet. Any of the sonnets are going to be
a little smaller, yeah.
Pretty short. I love these. 2F.
Who are you, F?
How are you going to interpret that title?
2F?
Yeah.
To F what? To F who?
Yeah, at least the guy's name wasn't like Felix Unger. To F you.
To F you. Love it.
So anyway, very good poem. Look it up. Get a copy. Enter our drawing for your copy of the complete so-called Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe.
Once we get it up, though.
Yeah, but get us up to 500. Get us there. And then we will start that drawing. And then enter the drawing, and you may win it. And it, like I say, it'll be a one of a kind. I mean, the book, there'll be other copies of the book around.
And I may or may not make a really cool bookmark to go with it.
Oh, that would be nice.
So
I'm kicking around the idea of pasting in some different end pages.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
to clean it up.
I'd have to just cover over the end pages that are there, but
yeah,
the end pages that are in this book are white.
White, boring.
I'm thinking of designing something and gluing some new end pages in the front and back, and that'll make it even more custom.
So yeah, we're working on. It'll probably get better and better as time goes on. So get us to that 500 subscriptions, and
yeah, but don't let too much time go on. Let's get up to 500 so that I have to finish this thing up and do the drawing.
Give him a deadline, guys. Give this man a deadline.
Yeah, because I didn't look this morning. We just got a new subscriber. We're somewhere around 478, 479.
Nice.
So we're getting really close.
We're very excited about that. And thank you so much to our viewers who have shared our posts, liked us, talked about us. We really appreciate you and getting us to this point, even this far.
And this has been a long time coming. We're coming up on 4 years here.
Yeah. So
there are other people that started 6 months ago and have 5,000 viewers.
I feel like slow and steady is good.
Well, yeah, we're getting the viewers who give a damn about what we're doing, I think.
And we appreciate that you care so much about what we're doing and that you're willing to take the time to listen to us. So thank you so much.
Nothing against it, but we're not getting all the people that are just looking for Fourth Wing.
Yeah. Nothing against it. I haven't even read it.
I haven't read it.
It just doesn't sound like something I'd be interested in.
No, me either. It's just another fantasy romance.
Yeah.
That's a whole new genre now.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Romantasy.
Yeah, romantasy. Ooh, I like that. That's a good play on words. So thanks for joining us, guys. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.